Have you ever wondered what happens when a top Formula One team is forced into a corner? Well, get ready, because Red Bull Racing just blew the doors wide open on what could be the most thrilling silly season yet. In a shocking turn of events, they've introduced Liam Lawson into the mix. Now, that might sound like curtains for Daniel Ricciardo, but wait, there could be an even bigger twist. Could Sauber Audi be preparing a surprising move? And what does this all mean for Sergio Perez and Red Bull's future lineup? These are the burning questions that are dominating the paddock right now. But as we dig deeper, there's something even more intriguing brewing behind the scenes, something that might be completely out of Red Bull's control. And if they don't act fast, it could spell disaster for the team. You see, Red Bull has spent most of 2024 downplaying the rumors about Max Verstappen's potential departure. Meanwhile, they've been struggling to fend off Mercedes' relentless attempts to lure their star driver away. However, it now looks like Red Bull may be preparing a backup plan, indirectly admitting that the worst might happen. And here's the kicker: Mercedes might hold the key to this whole saga. Could we be on the brink of witnessing the most significant driver switch in Formula One history? Red Bull's team principal, Christian Horner, dropped a bombshell in a recent interview. He hinted that George Russell might become a major target for Red Bull when his contract expires in 2026. This revelation has set off a frenzy of speculation, and we can't help but wonder, is Red Bull eyeing a new star driver, just in case things go south with Verstappen? Stick around, because in the next few minutes, we're diving deep into this developing story that could redefine Formula One as we know it. So what's really happening here? For months, Red Bull has been laser-focused on fending off rumors about Verstappen's potential exit and dealing with Mercedes' open flirtation with their world champion. But now it seems like Red Bull might be facing a reality they never wanted to acknowledge. Could they actually lose their star driver? And if so, who could possibly fill those enormous shoes? Christian Horner, in a move that caught everyone off guard, mentioned that Red Bull might have to look outside their pool of drivers. That's when George Russell's name came into the conversation. Horner didn't hold back when speaking to Sky Sports, stating, "Look, we're not afraid to look beyond our current options. George Russell's contract is set to end next year, and it would be foolish not to consider that." Now, that's a loaded statement. Is Red Bull seriously eyeing Russell as a potential replacement? Or is this just a strategy to keep their options open? Let's break this down a bit. Russell was always seen as the heir apparent at Mercedes, especially after Lewis Hamilton's surprise switch to Ferrari for the 2025 season. This move was expected to cement Russell's position as Mercedes' future leader. But here's where things get even more interesting. With the rule changes coming in 2026, there's a huge opportunity to reset the pecking order in Formula One. And if Mercedes finds its way back to championship contention, Russell might face an entirely different set of circumstances than he imagined. It raises the question, would he even want to stay, or could Red Bull lure him away with a better offer? But it doesn't stop there. Behind the scenes, Mercedes is taking its own calculated risks. They are grooming their young talent, Kimi Antonelli, to potentially step into an F1 seat after just one season in Formula 2. This has led to widespread speculation that Mercedes could be setting up a future lineup of Antonelli and Verstappen. However, 3 drivers for 2 seats simply won't work, and someone will have to step aside. Could Russell be the odd one out? And if so, will Red Bull be ready to swoop in and make him their new leading man? Horner's statements have certainly added fuel to the fire. Meanwhile, Mercedes team boss Toto Wolff has been quick to reject any suggestions that Russell might be on the move, calling it nothing more than stirring the pot. But as we know in Formula One, where there's smoke, there's usually fire. Wolff insists that Russell is a Mercedes driver through and through, yet the complexity of the driver market leaves everyone wondering if even Wolff's reassurances can hold up in the fast-changing world of F1. Now, let's dive deeper into Mercedes' perspective. Toto Wolff, the team's principal, is adamant about Russell's long-term future with Mercedes. He recently mentioned George is a Mercedes driver and has been forever. Hopefully he will continue to be so for a long time. He emphasized that both Russell and the rising star, Kimi Antonelli, are the future of the team, stating they have contracts extending beyond what many are aware of, with options that make it highly complex to switch drivers easily. In other words, Wolff seems confident that Mercedes has secured its driver lineup for the foreseeable future. But here's where things get tricky. Despite Wolff's firm words, public information paints a slightly different picture. Russell's current contract, signed in 2023, is reportedly only set to last until the end of 2025. Meanwhile, Mercedes is fast-tracking Antonelli's career, potentially promoting him to Formula One after just one season in Formula 2. This has naturally led to rumors swirling about the team's true intentions. Could Antonelli be paired with Verstappen in the future, forming Mercedes' new powerhouse lineup? If that happens, where does it leave Russell? Wolfeff may brush off these speculations for now, but the clock is ticking. By the 2025 season, things will need to become much clearer. Perhaps Verstappen won't even emerge as an option for Mercedes, or maybe Russell will cement himself as an irreplaceable part of the team. However, the fact remains that Russell's potential availability stems from more than just an expiring contract. The conditions at Mercedes could change so significantly that he may no longer fit within their long-term ambitions. Let's consider the scenario if Red Bull does lose Verstappen. Red Bull has always been about plugging in a top-tier driver who can step in and immediately compete at the highest level. Right now, none of Red Bull's current drivers are seen as capable of filling Verstappen's shoes if he were to leave. This is where Russell comes into the picture as a perfect candidate. He's young, experienced, and already a proven race winner. In the right car, he could be a championship contender, which is precisely what Red Bull would need if Verstappen leaves for another team or retires early. Interestingly, Horner hasn't suggested bringing Russell in to partner with Verstappen, which would be a potential recipe for disaster given both drivers' competitive nature. Historically, Red Bull has never been keen on pairing Verstappen with someone who might challenge his position. Russell, with his fierce driving style and strong personality, would certainly not settle for playing second fiddle. So, if Red Bull is looking at Russell, it's likely because they see him as the next leader in the post-Verstappen era. But why is Red Bull even contemplating a life beyond Verstappen? It's simple. Red Bull is facing a driver dilemma of its own making. Although Verstappen is under contract until the end of 2028, doubts surround his long-term future with the team. Tensions have been brewing due to several internal Red Bull concerns, including power struggles, Verstappen's father Jose's rivalry with team principal Christian Horner, and the team's lackluster performance trajectory in 2024. Adding to this, Verstappen himself seems to be growing increasingly disenchanted with Formula One's peripheral aspects, such as the endless media obligations and sponsorship demands. These could potentially accelerate his plans for an early retirement. This means Red Bull might soon find themselves without their star driver, and what's more alarming is that they currently lack a clear contingency plan. Whether Verstappen is lured away by a rival team like Mercedes, or simply decides he's had enough of F1, Red Bull will need a top-tier replacement driver who can step in and lead the team immediately. And this is where Russell becomes an intriguing option. Horner's recent comments suggest that Red Bull is keeping a close eye on how the driver market unfolds over the next 18 months. He mentioned considering Russell as a possibility, but let's be real, any genuine consideration for Russell can only be as a replacement for Verstappen, not as a partner. Red Bull has never been one to match Verstappen with a driver who could challenge him. Russell, with his talent and competitive nature, would never settle for a secondary role. The two have had their clashes on the track in the past, and while they're not sworn enemies, it's clear that they are both driven to be the best. Pairing them together in the same team would likely create more friction than harmony. So the only logical explanation is that Red Bull views Russell as a plan B in case they have to face a future without Verstappen. It's a hard pill for Red Bull to swallow, as they've never seriously had to consider life beyond their world champion until now. However, it makes a lot of sense. Russell has his critics, but he's a solid driver with proven capabilities. His qualifying performances are consistently outstanding, and he has managed to outpace the legendary Lewis Hamilton on Saturdays in 2024. While he has made a few high-profile mistakes in his Mercedes stint, Russell has also shown flashes of brilliance that make him a worthy candidate for a championship-caliber team like Red Bull. If Verstappen were to leave tomorrow, none of Red Bull's current lineup, be it Lawson, Ricciardo, or Perez, could claim to be on Russell's level. Russell represents an immediate, ready-to-lead driver, which is precisely what Red Bull would need to maintain their competitiveness. And this is why Horner's statements, though vague, might be the first real admission from Red Bull that they are starting to prepare for a post-Verstappen world. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. For Red Bull, It's not just about finding any top-tier driver, it's about finding the right one who fits into their team's dynamic. Russell is undeniably talented, but some might argue he still has to prove that he's capable of leading a championship-winning team. He has had his moments of brilliance, such as dominating qualifying sessions and delivering standout performances. However, his time at Mercedes hasn't been without flaws, and questions remain about whether he's ready to step into the shoes of a driver like Verstappen. Interestingly, Mercedes' interest in Antonelli might add more layers to this evolving story. With the young prodigy potentially stepping into a Formula One seat soon, could Mercedes be thinking ahead, preparing for a scenario where they have to choose between their current star and the next generation? Wolff has been vocal about Antonelli's future within the team, possibly hinting at a gradual shift in their lineup. If that's the case, where would that leave Russell? Could it be that Mercedes is grooming Antonelli as Verstappen's future teammate, pushing Russell towards the exit door? These speculations highlight just how fluid the driver market is right now, and why Red Bull might be thinking beyond Verstappen. If Russell becomes available and shows interest, Red Bull would be foolish not to seriously consider him as a plan B. However, there's one big factor that could still disrupt this potential move: Russell's driving style and personality. Red Bull has never favored drivers who might challenge the established order within their ranks. They've built their team around Verstappen, ensuring he remains the undisputed leader. Russell, however, isn't one to back down easily. He has a strong personality and driving style that demand attention, which could potentially clash with the culture at Red Bull. Yet, this might be precisely why Red Bull is interested. If Verstappen decides to leave or retire early, they would need a driver who not only has the skill but also the mindset to lead the team. In that case, Russell could be their ideal choice, a driver who is ready to take on the pressure of being the face of Red Bull Racing. However, integrating him into the team would not be straightforward. It would require Red Bull to rethink their strategy and prepare for a new team dynamic that could change everything. So where does this leave us? Red Bull isn't making any immediate decisions, of course. The driver market is volatile, and with 18 months until 2026, they have some time to observe how things unfold. Russell's performance over the next year will be crucial, especially as Mercedes prepares for the new regulations in 2026. If Russell emerges as a race-winning driver who becomes a free agent, it would be almost irresponsible for Red Bull not to go after him. But the road ahead for Russell is far from certain. The pressure is on for him to prove his worth at Mercedes and solidify his status as a team leader. When Mercedes replaced Valtteri Bottas with Russell in 2022, the intention was clear: Russell was to learn from Hamilton and eventually take the reins as the team's future leader. Hamilton's decision to leave early and switch to Ferrari has accelerated that timeline, and now Russell faces the ultimate test: can he truly lead Mercedes to glory? Russell's leadership at Mercedes has already faced scrutiny. The 2024 Canadian Grand Prix is a prime example. He secured pole position, took an early lead, but then made mistakes that cost him a potential victory. It's moments like these that raise doubts about his consistency and decision-making under pressure. Though he's capable of pulling off stunning overtakes, his races often seem chaotic. For someone aiming to join the elite ranks of Formula One drivers, these errors could be a significant hurdle. Take the Singapore 2023 race, for instance. Russell was in contention for a podium finish and possibly even a win, but a critical mistake led to his crash. Was it overreaching or simply bad luck? Some argue he is still refining his race management skills, unlike Hamilton, who has mastered the art of tire preservation and strategy. These lapses hint that Russell might be pushing his limits too hard, leaving little room for error. So the question remains: can Russell step up as Mercedes' leader, or will his missteps open the door for Red Bull to swoop in? Mercedes now faces a critical choice. With Verstappen likely in their sights for 2026 and Antonelli quickly rising through the ranks, the team has a delicate balance to maintain. Toto Wolff knows that having 3 strong drivers for just 2 seats is a recipe for conflict. If they pursue Verstappen, someone will have to make way, and Russell's future could be the one most in question. Yet, Red Bull isn't sitting idle. Horner's recent comments indicate that they're evaluating all possible options. Russell's availability might just present the opportunity they need if Verstappen decides to leave. But Red Bull's decision hinges on more than just talent. They must find a driver who not only matches their ambitions but also fits into their team dynamic. If Russell can address his shortcomings and prove he can lead a championship charge, Red Bull would find it hard to ignore him as a viable successor to Verstappen. But until the 2025 season gets underway, the path forward remains uncertain for everyone involved. Red Bull's uncertainty doesn't end with just picking the right driver. Verstappen's unpredictable temperament and his growing discontent with Formula One's politics make it even harder for Red Bull to secure their future. If he chooses to leave, Red Bull must have a plug-and-play leader ready to step in, and this is why Russell remains on their radar. However, there's more at stake than just performance. Red Bull's culture has always revolved around having a clear number one driver, and Verstappen fits that role perfectly. Bringing in a strong-willed driver like Russell could disrupt this balance. Unlike Verstappen's previous teammates, Russell wouldn't easily accept a secondary position. This makes Red Bull's potential interest in him even more intriguing, as it suggests they might be preparing for a drastic shift in their team dynamics. For now, all eyes are on the upcoming season. Russell's every move will be scrutinized, as he needs to prove not just to Mercedes, but to potential suitors like Red Bull, that he has what it takes to lead a top team. Russell's future with Mercedes is hanging in the balance, but his performance next season will be the real test. The team expected him to grow under Hamilton's guidance, but Hamilton's early exit has accelerated his timeline to step up. Now Russell must prove he's ready to lead Mercedes back to championship glory. In his 2024 campaign, his inconsistencies have become a focal point. Mistakes like the one in the Singapore race raised questions about his ability to keep his composure when it counts the most. To secure his spot, Russell has to show that he can be a reliable frontrunner, capable of making strategic decisions under pressure. Only then can he cement his future with Mercedes and ward off the looming threat of being replaced. Meanwhile, Red Bull watches closely. If Russell shines, he could become their first choice in a post-Verstappen era. Yet, everything hinges on the next 18 months as the driver market prepares for a major shuffle. The clock is ticking, and the 2025 season could be a turning point. If Russell manages to lead Mercedes effectively and shows that he can compete with the best, he might secure his future with the team. However, if his performance remains inconsistent, Mercedes might be tempted to pursue Verstappen or promote Antonelli, leaving Russell with limited options. Red Bull, on the other hand, must be ready to act. They can't predict what will happen within their own driver lineup or how the market will evolve. However, if Russell becomes a free agent for 2026, ignoring him would be a mistake. He might be the key to filling the potential void left by Verstappen. But as of now, the story remains unwritten. Will Russell prove his worth and become the next big leader at Mercedes, or will Red Bull swoop in to change the narrative? Only time will tell how this driver market drama will unfold. As fans, all we can do is watch and speculate. So, what do you think? Can Russell rise to the occasion, or are we on the verge of witnessing a massive driver shakeup in Formula One? Let's hear your thoughts in the comments below.